Hello and welcome to Just a Damn Nerd. Thanks for clicking on the video. And today, did you know you can get PlayStation Plus on PC? And it works, believe it or not. So, in this video, we're going to cover how to get PlayStation Plus on PC, how it compares to PC's version of Game Pass, is it worth it, and how does it actually work? Because PlayStation Plus is a streaming service, and the question I had going into this was, did they manage to fix some of the problems that Google Stadia had? Or are streaming services just completely unrealistic right now? But before we get into that, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. It makes a world of difference. So let's talk about how to get it. So it's actually really simple to get. You just have to go to PlayStation.com, and I'll put a link in the description below, and there's an area to download PlayStation Plus on PC. Once you've downloaded it, all you have to do is log in with your PlayStation account. If you don't have a PlayStation account, you'll need to create one. But if you have forgotten your password for some reason, you cannot reset your password on the app. Once the app's installed, you can log in, but if you want to reset your password, you have to actually go to PlayStation.com. I learned that the hard way because it's been a long time since I've played a PlayStation and I have forgotten my password. You also have to go and buy a PS Plus subscription. I think you have to buy the premium, but I'm not entirely sure about that. It's about $18 a month, and it gives you access to quite a few games. Once you've actually gone through the process of getting PlayStation Plus, though, and setting it up, installing it, the question is it truly worth it? Well, when you first start comparing the two, PlayStation Plus and Game Pass, the first thing you'll notice is that PlayStation Plus is more expensive on PC. Game Pass on PC will cost you about $10, while PlayStation Plus is $18, which would be fine if PlayStation Plus was a more valuable service than Game Pass. But what you'll find the more you look at these two services is that Game Pass tends to offer more games at a more reasonable price, and it allows you to install them. So when comparing PlayStation Plus to Game Pass, the first thing you're going to notice is an abundance of exclusives for both services. But one thing I hadn't helped but notice is a glaring lack of some of Sony's big title exclusives for their service. You do have games on PlayStation Plus like Infamous Second Son, Ghost of Tsushima, Resistance 3, Until Dawn, Medieval, Resident Evil Code Veronica, and some other games that you really can't get on just about any other service. I believe God of War is also on here, but there is a shit ton of games missing. Games like Returnal, the original Spider-Man game. Miles Morales is on here, but the original Spider-Man game is not. There are all games like Bloodborne as well, and some other hits, but you can't get the New Horizon game. You can't get Returnal. You can't get the new God of War game. You can't get the original Spider-Man game, and several other PlayStation games are missing, as well as dozens of PS1 titles. Hundreds of PS1 titles are just non-existent. Not to mention Sony is not updating the games on their server side. So when you play something like Resistance 3, it looks really bad. It runs rough too, because Sony isn't actually upscaling these games to be modern, which makes no goddamn sense with a service that costs so much. PlayStation Plus compared to Game Pass is other shortcomings also become apparent, like the fact that you can't download games onto your PC and you have to stream everything. While on the flip side, Game Pass is a cheaper service, costing you only $10 a month, and has more titles, several more titles, as well as also having many of Microsoft's exclusive titles, with big titles like Outward, Skyrim, Gears of War, Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon, and thanks to Microsoft's partnership with EA, it also has Battlefield and Madden, as well as several old Bethesda games like Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Wolfenstein 3D, Quake 4, Prey, Dishonored, Shadow of Mordor, Dishonored 2, Ori, Ninja Turtles. I mean, the list goes on. On top of that, Game Pass also has games coming to it that you're probably pretty excited for. Games like High on Life, the game from the creators of Rick and Morty, as well as Microsoft's first-party titles coming down the line. Also, great PC exclusives like Valheim are available on Game Pass, meaning that Game Pass as a service is light years ahead of PlayStation Plus, which I'm sure doesn't surprise a lot of people, as I'm sure a lot of people were already aware that Game Pass was a superior service. But it's still worth mentioning. Game Pass is cheaper, offers more titles and allows you to download the PC version of these titles, meaning that you can adapt the graphics settings to native 4K, you can set everything to ultra, you can get games that look like current gen titles, and you can get all of the great benefits you gain from having a PC. This is not possible with PlayStation Plus. So if you're considering just buying one of these two services, it's a no-brainer. You have to go with Game Pass on PC. There is no comparison. For some reason, Sony is still holding back far too many of their first-party titles on this service. I'm not sure why Sony is holding back so many first-party titles, and I'm not sure why they won't just update the PlayStation 1 games and put them on PlayStation Plus. Because if they did update all the PS1 games to 4K and push them out as far as they can without having to remaster them, they would have a tremendously huge lineup of titles. As it stands right now, Sony has not done that. There is a limited amount of PS3 and PS1 games, PS2 as well, on here. Also, if you're noticing in this video that with the Game Pass, I can pull up a list of every single Game Pass game, the PlayStation Plus app on PC doesn't allow you to do that. As you can see, you have play history, sports, adventure, shooters. There's no way to pull up every single thing on here. Although I will say I think the interface on the PlayStation Plus app on PC is a little bit nicer than Game Pass's, but that doesn't mean it's a better service. So now that we've covered that, let's talk about PlayStation Plus as a service. Is it worth adding to your PC collection? Now, like everything, a lot of that will come down to personal preference. When you're talking about spending $18 a month on a service, the question is how many games on that service appeal to you personally. For example, you may not give a fuck about Gears of War, Halo, or Forza, but you might care about Until Dawn, Ghost of Tsushima, and Horizon Zero Dawn. So, PlayStation Plus on PC has some games on it that are probably worth the price of admission. I never got to finish Ghost of Tsushima when I played it on PlayStation, and I kind of would like to do that. I am sort of hoping Sony will launch a PC version of that game, though, in the near future. The service offers a handful of noteworthy titles. We're going to mention a couple of them here, as some of these games are the reason why you might consider PlayStation Plus. Now, a lot of this stuff has crossover for Game Pass, so we're going to try to avoid it. And that's the problem. You see, Sony misses an opportunity here. The best thing for this service on PC is games that you can't get on PC. Games that I can't play on PC. That's how you're going to convince me to pay you for PlayStation Plus. But in that area, Sony has very few games that you can't play on PC, and which games that you will actually want to spend time playing. Sony has stuff like the Super Star Wars remaster for the PS3. They have a handful of PS3 titles like God of War 3 Remake and The Last of Us Remake. They have only a couple PlayStation 1 games like Siphon Filter, and while they do have Resident Evil Director's Cut, you can very easily play Resident Evil Remaster on PC, and it's a much better game than Resident Evil Director's Cut. They also have the Toy Story 2 game from the PS2, and Siren from the PS2. They also offer almost every PS3 version of Ratchet & Clank and Resident Evil Code Veronica, but I think you can get Code Veronica on Steam. They have all of the infamous titles on here, and I think all of the Ratchet & Clank games as well. God of War 2 is available, and they also have some big exclusives, but most of them have found their way to PC lately. They have games like Stray, Days Gone, Medieval, which is kind of disappointing on this service. Maybe just disappointing, period. I don't remember it having very good reviews. They have the Avengers game, which I heard was fucking terrible, but I haven't got a chance to play it. They have the Friday the 13th game, Injustice, Bloodborne, the new God of War game, Horizon, Mortal Kombat 11, Guardians of the Galaxy. But a lot of this stuff, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, but some of these games you can get on Steam or on Game Pass. So in terms of what they really offer that you can only get here, I can't say for sure because I didn't go search through the entire Steam library. I don't think anyone's ever done that. But I know Miles Morales isn't on Steam yet. Ghost of Tsushima isn't on Steam yet. Until Dawn will probably never be on Steam. Bloodborne isn't on Steam. A lot of the PS2 and PS3 games might not be on Steam, but they're probably on GOG. And it'll probably only cost you a couple bucks to buy them on PC. Detroit Become Human is on Steam now. So most of this stuff is available on Steam. So if you are just going to buy the game because you want to play the best version of it, you really don't have a ton of reason to purchase this service. As a matter of fact, I'd say there's only about 12 or 15 games on the entire service that you can't get on Game Pass or Steam. which is really not good enough for a $17, $18 a month service. So, that brings us to the $100 million question, the $150 million part of this video. How do the games play? Because, let's face it, $17 a month isn't bad, and games like Ghost Runner, which I have no intention of ever buying, and I don't think are on Game Pass, could be fun to play on this service. However, the problems immediately start to rear their ugly head as soon as you boot into a game. So I started off by playing Resistance 3, a PS3 game. Now, PlayStation Plus tells you can use any controller as long as it's either plugged in using a USB adapter or plugged in with a wire. So I went with the Xbox controller to start with because I figured it was already using the Xbox adapter, because for some reason my Xbox controller, if I use Bluetooth, drops constantly and it's really frustrating. So I bought the Xbox adapter to fix that issue. So it seemed like a good idea to use the Xbox controller. But however, once I booted into Resistance 3, I realized that this was a fairly untrue statement by Sony, as Resistance 3 immediately prompted me to use a controller with a touchpad, even going so far as saying that some games on this service require controllers with touchpads, meaning the DualShock 4 or DualShock 5, meaning I had to break out a wire for my DualShock 5. Which isn't really that big of a deal, just worth mentioning. However, the other problems were much more obvious. For one, this game isn't being upscaled. So rather than upscaling this game and then streaming it to you, so you can play the game looking modern with modern day high resolution picture, instead Sony streams the game in its original native 30 FPS 720 stream. So I get this really blurry overall picture, which I could live with and your brain would eventually adapt to if you just play the game long enough. The other problem is I did see some stutter with these games, which could be my internet speed, but my internet tests out at 800 megabytes per second every time I run a speed test on it, and it's hardwired to the PC, so I would think that's probably not the issue here. But the real thing that killed this service for me was the control input lag. Now, it's hard to show this, but it's easy to feel it. It almost felt like running in sand. It felt like my inputs lagged behind everything I did by a couple of seconds. As you can see here in the beginning of Days Gone, I can barely even drive the motorcycle because it feels like it doesn't start turning till after it's turned too far. And then when I go to recorrect, I've turned too far the other way. Now, I do believe that eventually your brain would most likely adapt to this suck factor if you continue to play it long enough, but this massive amount of input lag creates extreme frustration almost immediately upon booting into any game. Now, a 1 gig internet connection plugged into a PC hardwired, and depending on what speed test I use, I get between 700 and 900 megabytes per second. So I shouldn't be having any issue with lag. I can easily stream any 4K video without any real issue. It's very frustrating to play games on this service. I found myself wanting to chuck the controller more than enjoying it. I pretty much quit every game I played, so I eventually switched to a game I liked, Ghost of Tsushima, in order to try to determine whether or not I was quitting every game I played because I hadn't played them. Like, is Primeval awful? Who knows? I never played it on the PS4. And I found it just as frustrating to play this game as I did to play the other ones. Unfortunately, this is the same input lag problem that Stadia had, where the people were demoing this and showing that Stadia's input lag was fucking terrible. It seems like streaming games is still just not there yet. For whatever reason, I guess the internet is just not fast enough to stream games. It's extremely frustrating trying to play games on the service. I found myself not wanting to play anything any longer than it took to get the footage for this video. And that's really disappointing, because I was really hoping to be able to play something like Ghost of Tsushima without having to buy a PlayStation 5. But it looks like that is the only way I'm going to be able to play this game unless Sony brings it to PC. Please, Sony, bring this game to PC. Also conspicuous by their absence is PS5 games. As far as I could tell, there is not a single PlayStation 5 game on the service. And even games that have PS5 versions like Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us Part 1, and Stray are all using the PS4 version, and are set by default to PS4 settings, so you're not getting any of the advantage of using a top-end computer. So overall, PlayStation Plus PC feels like a poorly thought out service missing tons of stuff, with a streaming platform that doesn't work properly, running very much outdated versions of games with no way to update them, forcing you to own a PlayStation controller if you don't already. And it's more expensive than Game Pass. Unfortunately, there is no way I can recommend PlayStation Plus to PC users right now. It isn't worth the money or time. Now, if you don't mind the suck factor and you just want to play Ghost of Tsushima all the way through, I don't know if you'd be able to get through it because I got frustrated after about 20 minutes. But if I had played it longer, I probably would have eventually adapted. Alright guys, well thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Guys, so I'll see you guys next time. I hope you'll come back. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Hit that like button, hit that share button, hit the button, press 2 buttons and then hit a button. And I need you to enter a cheat code so you get infinite life so you can hit the button again. And come on back. Thanks for watching, and as always, this is the Damn Nerd signing out.